the bullishness of like what's going to happen to these assets is going to hit history books. Like for generations, they will talk of this time period and they'll say it was the greatest bubble to ever exist, because it will create the greatest bubble in all of existence and all of mankind. And the amount of money that you will be able to make will be eye-watering. I don't know if there ever will be an opportunity like that if we see a multi-year cycle-breaking run with Bitcoin. Welcome to the Never Die Podcast, your ultimate source of crypto alpha for those who never quit. Today we have Harley Simpson on the podcast, and we're actually just going to talk about the market and everything that's going on right now. We're in a little bit of a dip, so we're just going to dive into everything going on in the market. What's going on, Harley Simpson?
Not much, man. It's a pretty deep pool we're going to be diving into, though. There's a lot going on in the market right now, as my phone alerts constantly remind me. All
right. First question. I've been getting asked this a lot. Are we in an accelerated cycle? So are you familiar with like the cycle theory? Yeah. Okay. I guess for anyone that isn't, it's like this idea that like crypto goes in 4-year cycles. You have like the bull and bear cycle parts, right? I kind of break it down to seasons. So you have like crypto winter, spring, summer, and fall. And so like crypto winter would be the bear market when it's like really brutal. Crypto spring would be kind of like the season we went through over the last couple of years, where it's like prices technically going up the entire time, but it feels really brutal and it feels like you're still in the bear market. But technically it is spring because, like we're up 200% or whatever off the bottom, during this time. And then crypto summer would be like the bull run, like, retail's here, everyone's having parties, everyone's rich, everyone's making a ton of money. Your neighbor's mom's sister is like super into crypto and like it's her favorite thing and she shouldn't be. And it just gets absolutely bananas. And then crypto fall is like the season after that, where like everyone's made so much money on like all these normal cryptos that they're like, they start getting into Ponzi's, like as many Ponzi's as they physically can get into to get rich. And like they literally think these things are going to last for forever. They're like, 10 billion APY. I like that. Look at how much money I'm making. And this is definitely not going to fail. And then obviously it all fails, collapses, and then we're back into crypto winter. And so that's the cycles.
It's like the ages of an empire, kind of,
yes.
Right? The last stage is like the inflationary, where we're all going forever, and it just piss it away, right? The last days of the empire.
That's exactly right. And it's typically these cycles operate on like they're like a 4-year time frame. And so what people are saying is, are we in an accelerated cycle? Because Bitcoin's never broken its all-time high before the halving. And halving's when like the block rewards for Bitcoin's cut in half. That's never happened, but it happened this time. So everyone's like, oh, the cycle's going quicker. I don't know if do you have an opinion on this, Harley? Do you think the cycle is accelerated right now, or where are you standing? What are you hearing on the streets?
I mean, it's absolutely. I mean, well, yeah, I'm just outside. What's going on out here? But no, let's call it. I mean, from a standpoint of progression, it's absolutely accelerated. That's just math. I think the question you're probably asking is like, those 4 sequences, are those condensed and move forward, right? Like, and that's the much bigger question.
I've been hearing people on Twitter to date being like, with this little dip, or like this like baby dip, it's like such a child's dip. It's so little, but they're like freaking out. They're like, this is the end. The cycle's accelerated. We're at the top right now, and it's only down from here. So like you're saying, I guess technically, of course, we're in an accelerated cycle in that like the price is going higher quicker. But the question is it going to be a shorter cycle? And if so, how short?
I mean, it's hard to tell, because one judgment factor that because I've tried to answer this question myself basically every day since this has kicked off, because I'm trying to see where I need to be in the market position wise and when I should move. Oh yeah, duck and move, baby, right? Stick and move. What's it called? So I lost my train of thought. But you're seeing like the thing. So last time in the market, I wasn't involved online at all. First time I ever actually got involved with talking to anyone in crypto outside of one person I knew was when I joined like your community back in like late 2021. So I spent that entire cycle early DCAing in the bear market all by myself. I wasn't into anything deeper than like the blue chips. All right. So I had no idea. I got into Hex in like early 2020.
Oh my gosh!
Right, but like that was it, and that's because I saw it on like a crypto channel online. I was like, all right, whatever. I got it downloaded my Web3 wallet.
You got in early enough that you made a decent amount of money off of it?
Well, I didn't have decent money back then. I'd be incredibly wealthy now if I had decent money back then. But I was like throwing like $100, like Chainlink. I put like $100 in when it was like 50 cents a token, right? So I made like decent money, but not life changing.
But you didn't have like a lot of capital to start with.
Yeah. Well, Hex, if I had done it when I first heard about it, I mean, I probably still would have been rich off like $100. But Dang. I waited, but still did. I mean.
Just so you guys know, maybe some of you guys aren't familiar, Hex was a complete scam. People that are into Hex are going to hate me for saying this. It was a complete scam.
Don't you say this.
But like, people that got in early obviously made a ridiculous amount of money, like stupid amounts of money. So it's like, like I guess people that played it and like knew it was a Ponzi and like just had fun with it, whatever, like do whatever you want with your own money. But there's a lot of these kind of things that pop up in the crypto space where like they seem legitimate, they're actually scams, but they do make people a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, I think mine did like it was basically like 300x, I think. So like my like $100, I think was 30 grand or something at the top, which cashed out a decent amount. But yeah, now, we'll see if you can do it again this cycle. But anyways, back to your question.
There's going to be another Hex this cycle. Yeah.
But I think back to your question on it is like, I'm seeing those things now and I didn't see them before. So it's hard to judge because there's so much activity that I feel like wasn't like the volume at levels below the blue chips is at a level where I feel like you'd normally see later in a cycle. So I think that's
like when you're talking about like the meme coins and all of that popping off.
Yeah, meme coins and just like smaller projects. We're not in Ponzi season, that's for sure. But I think it will be a bit more. I don't know, like flat. It may be elongated, but I don't think it's going to run the exact same way as the other cycles, right? Just because...
I have this weird theory about the meme coins. I keep trying to figure that out too, because you're right. Like typically the like really low quality, like meme coins aren't Ponzi's, but they are like obviously like garbage, like purposeful garbage. They're like, hey, let's, it's just like fun garbage. I don't know how to describe it, but basically there's not quality behind it. Like nobody's like, oh, this is a serious investment. Everyone knows it's like a play kind of gambling-esque investment. And so my theory is that there's a lot of people that are sidelined for like the normal crypto rally, and that actually most of retail is still sitting on the sidelines because they think in their heart of hearts that like crypto is going to crash from here. But while they're waiting, they're playing the meme coin game because, meme coins start like they're not late to that game. That's a game that's like, oh, the VCs, the serious investors, they didn't get into this. I can get into this. I can still be early on this, but I would be late if I got into the normal crypto market. And that's why I think we're not seeing a lot of action on the altcoins and all of that kind of stuff. We're mostly seeing like the ETF flows pushing up Bitcoin. Then we're seeing a trickle down wealth effect that is pouring into everything else. And we're seeing a little bit of leverage. But I think as a whole, retail is checking their Coinbase account. They're seeing how much they have. That's why Coinbase is crashing. They're really maybe dipping their toe in a little bit. Maybe they're buying like some stuff, but like Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, XRP, kind of like weird stuff. But they're mostly playing around with the meme coins. Yeah. And this cycle, meme coins are kind of like last cycle what NFTs were for retail. They're like that entryway drug to get them kind of like blue pilled, red pilled. I don't remember which one it is in the Matrix. Into the market.
Yeah, no, I mean, the interest around it in every different chat that are not meme coin chats that I go into online, memes are getting thrown into it, right? I mean, crypto Twitter is just like ridiculous. I put a tweet up yesterday, like kind of joking about it. I was like, this cycle, I've already turned $450 into 70 million. My life has changed forever. Read below to find out, right? And I'm like, how I did it, my trust fund matured. Follow my tweets to see more about this, blah, 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 blah. Because that's what you're getting, right? And I feel it, right? I have money in crypto, right? I'm not broke starting out anymore, right? And when I see these tweets from these guys, I feel FOMO on memes, right? Yeah. I know I'm going to go and probably lose money, but it's hard. So I get exactly what you're saying. Like, if you're coming in,
much of that's a game. So much of the meme coin thing is a game. I talked to a guy yesterday. I did a pod with him yesterday, I think, or Wednesday or yesterday, one of those days. And he's the creator behind one of the biggest meme coins there is in the space. Okay, that's pod's going to drop a little bit later, actually this coming Wednesday. And he went into some of the things that happen on the back end in the like darker side of that industry, and a lot of it is like this almost like stacked game for insiders, where they like kind of pump out these meme coins. They like a bunch of influencers promote them, like knowing that all the other influencers in that little whatever Telegram group are going to promote it. They shoot up the price, they dump on retail, and they kind of rinse and repeat over and over again. So there is like, I get the FOMO too, but like I also know there's like, it's a really dangerous game to play, because if you're not in that insiders club, you're typically the one getting dumped on until they reach a certain size. Maybe once they're past like 10 million market cap, I think they kind of take a different life of their own on. But like pre that, it's like a pretty brutal game.
Yeah, but I think to reach that point, because I've done a lot of looking into like successful meme coin making, and I think if you're gonna, first of all, you have to have the intention. If you're just trying to pump something out and profit and then like let it live on the market, it's never going to make it. Making a cryptocurrency thrive is actually difficult, right? Like it's like a successful one, anyone can make one. A successful one is very difficult, but you've got to be working with a market maker. You have to be very strategic, organizing with them, and like actual KOLs who aren't going to screw you. Your KOL deals, you need to be paying in either cash or vesting tokens, right? So they're not screwing you, because even if they say they're not going to, and you have no intention, there's a lot at play. And so finding those within the sea of all of these, right, is very difficult. It's so hard.
I didn't even know what KOL meant until the podcast episode I did with them, but it's a key opinion leader. And it's basically influencers, and a bunch of projects will pay influencers, obviously, to promote their project. That's like a normal thing. But the shady stuff is like a lot of these influencers don't disclose they got paid to promote these projects. And so, and you have like just like big influencers who will promote like really small like meme coins. They'll also be like, oh, this is a, $100,000 market cap meme coin. I have 500,000 followers. What could go wrong? Like they buy a big bag at 100,000, promote it to their followers. Of course, this thing goes to like 15, 20, 30 million in market cap. They dump, make a killing. Yeah. And then they just do it over and over again, because people are like, man, that X, influencer called this one. It was a 500X bagger. And they just keep doing it over and over again. I don't understand how they do it, but it's such a gypped and rigged game.
No, yeah, it's crap.
So wait, in your opinion, are we in an accelerated like cycle? Is it going to end early, or is it not?
Yeah, if I had to gun to my head, I would say we're a bit accelerated, just because on the net flows on Bitcoin, it gets harder as it goes higher, right?
Okay.
And we are facing that retail issue. I think there's more accessibility to like these smaller caps. I think you see the swings to those sooner. There is a lot of room for alts to grow. Just looking at like the market caps of like the 10 to 50 ranked tokens. There's a lot of room there. But I don't think, and I don't want to sound too FOMO-y, I don't think we're going to see the same bear that we did before, for the same reason that we're going to see a bit of an accelerated cycle. I think having Bitcoin is a market anchor, and having like traditional money, long-term money in that is along the way wiping out leverage, right? Which usually really screws us at the end. But it's almost like it's being like strategically wiped out with these like 4 to 5% moves, even a little bit higher sometimes, and then strategically like slowly still moving up, if you want to call it slowly. I don't see a place where big money is controlling that they all run dumping the other way. But we've seen it in traditional markets. I could be wrong. I just feel like it will go down. Alts are going to have a much worse time, because those are usually held by people who are a bit more shakier. But I think it will be accelerated, and then the dip will be less of an issue.
Okay, so when you say accelerated, are you thinking like end of this year? Are you thinking like summer next year? Where would you put it if you had to right now call it? Where would you say, hey, this cycle ends around this time?
I'd say early next year. I'd say probably early next year, which I think fall next year would be the normal time. But I would say like that's when it would cool off a bit, depending on what happens on macro. Obviously, like this is just me guessing, right? If we don't get like the quantitative easing, right? A little bit more dovishness this year, and it starts to flow in early next year, right? Because I think the halving math is going to take effect a lot quicker, just because of the steady buying from large money. Like you're going to see that, and OTC desk miners have already been depleted so much, right? That it's going to be straight.
Yeah.
Like you're going to see the impact a lot quicker on the halving than you normally would mathematically, I believe. But then it becomes that macro question I'm talking about, because that drops when we've kind of just like gotten our hype already from the price rise of this. It becomes like a next leg, and that'll just extend it out, and the party rages on, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that was a decent take. I disagree. Well, okay, I kind of disagree. So for me, I say that a lot of people are gonna kind of start to believe that, hey, we're gonna have like less of a bear market, and I don't think this is fully what you're saying. I think you're saying it's gonna be like less brutal. Yeah. A little bit less brutal. And I guess I would agree with that. Like, it's like every bear market's a little bit less brutal. There's a little bit less of a down, a down leg for like Bitcoin and like Ethereum and the bigger cryptos, because they just become so big that like it's harder to move both ways. But on the other end of it, I think people are going to actually get to this point where they start to believe that not only is it going to be less, but we're not going to really even see a bear market.
I'm already hearing that.
This is what I think people are going to believe.
Already hearing that.
Yeah. Because of the ETF inflows, because it's now going to be like tracked. This is the narrative people are going to push. It's going to be tracked to the traditional markets. We're going to see more and more flows from Wall Street, and it just breaks the 4-year cycle. We're not going to have this big down legs anymore, and it's going to be like it's like a different version of the super cycle narrative we saw last cycle. And I think that is going to lead to the inevitable collapse of the markets that people are thinking we're not going to see. Because in reality, the reason we have these big collapses always comes from one thing, and it is people start to believe genuinely that crypto can never go down and that crypto only goes up. And when people believe, if you believed that an asset would only go up, you're going to do everything you can to get as much money into that asset as possible, and including leveraging up, taking out a loan, using your credit cards, like everything. And this is what happens every single time. People get to a point where they like super, doubt crypto, then it keeps proving itself, and they start to believe, then they really believe, then they make a ton of money, then they become these hardcore fanatics, and they're like, crypto only goes up. It's way different this time because of X reason, Y reason, and Z reason. And they leverage up. Crypto skyrockets even higher, and then it's shaky foundation, and the whole thing collapses. And so I think we will see a pretty good bear market, but I do agree maybe it won't be necessarily quite as bad. But I think I've seen Wall Street paper hands like stupid things. I mean, they're people too. They make stupid decisions all the time. And I think they'll do the same thing here. We'll see a big collapse. People say crypto's dead. We'll see the whole thing repeat. Maybe a little bit softer, but it's going to be pretty much the same. There's going to be somebody who's going to say crypto's going to zero, Bitcoin's going to zero. You're going to see all the stops are going to get pulled.
I think an interesting thing about it as well, like a case against my opinion on the accelerated cycle, is like so I bought some options on Robinhood for the Robinhood stock itself as like a retail bet, right? So I called some long auctions last year for one set for June this year. And one set, so I can get like an after the halving option, and then one is for January of 25. Right? And they've gone bananas, right? Like, and looking at it, and it's because they've actually started making money. Their earnings per share has gone positive, right? Crushed expectations, and they released their February numbers, right? And their crypto volume was up 10%, right? Which to me seemed small, right? It seemed very small because that is the ultimate retail indicator is Robinhood. Right.
Yes.
And I'm not going to lie. That's where I started, and I do still hold crypto on Robinhood because it's just like that's where I bought it originally. But because I'm a retail guy at heart. But the fact that it's up only 10% and a huge portion of that is like the people that were there already. It's not like they're static. They've probably raised their own volumes. So I think it feels like retail is much more here because of the increased frequency and volume, but I think that's just a lot of the same people being more active rather than new. So that is kind of a case against what I'm feeling, right? Because I'm feeling here, seeing these people that, you're new, right? But they aren't actually new, maybe. So that's a case against what I'm talking about.
I think the overall measurement isn't charts or anything like that. You want to measure sentiment. You want to measure like emotional, like how do people feel about the market, and when do they get that point of like to that point of where they feel like it can go up only, where they believe this thing is literally undefeatable, and how long does that take? And it really is kind of hard to tell how long that might take this cycle. I'm open to the fact, like, and I think anyone with like who knows what they're doing should be open to like many outcomes, right? They should be positioned watching the market really carefully and saying, hey, we could end earlier. We could end maybe the start of next year. We could end the middle of next year. Maybe it goes all the way to the end and we just have like a ridiculously insane cycle this time. It's really, really hard to tell. Is the biggest variable when it comes to sentiment time? Like people just need time to kind of forget the old pain of losing, and then like that's why it repeats on this like kind of 4-year time frame. Or is it really kind of these flows and the price action triggers these things early? I don't actually know, but I'll tell you one thing: we are not anywhere close to the end right now. No. And so people saying like, oh yeah, this is a top. yeah, they're nuts. They're crazy. Like, yeah, retail isn't here. We have the ETF flows are literally just getting started. So there's this huge thing of like so many of these big money managers with trillions and trillions in assets. They don't like an ETF goes live. They're not like buying day one. Like they spend like 6 months doing research and getting all their ducks in a row before they start like allocating in. And so we have all those like big flows still coming. We have rate cuts. Like the Fed has literally not even started cutting rates. I don't even know why anyone would think but it's over without the rate cuts. We have the halving. Like historically, the halving is like a big push up. We have the wealth effects coming from the ETH ETF. So like whether you believe the ETH ETF is coming in May, or you believe later in the year, or you believe the start of next year, it really doesn't matter. Whenever that thing comes, like Bitcoin is great because like there is a wealth effect from it, right? But it's like a different kind of wealth effect because like a lot of people hold Bitcoin just for like a store of value, where ETH is like DeFi. It is like all of these apps, all of these projects, like they're tied in some way to ETH. So when the value of ETH goes up, the ability, like the amount of money people have to invest in all these like altcoins also skyrockets. Same thing with Solana in the Solana ecosystem. But ETH is ecosystem right now, like TVL is just so much bigger. Yeah. So like ETH, the inflows are going to be, I think, even more impactful because it's smaller. And I actually think Wall Street is going to relate to it a little bit more. But whether you think that or not, just the fact that it's smaller, I think will mean bigger flows. It's going to push up the price. It's going to push up a lot of trickle down effects into all these other assets. That's going to be a huge thing.
I think
and then you have the fact.
No, sorry. I was just going to add into your ETH point. It's just that once again, it's also like deflationary, and they're going to be staking it, so you earn a yield on that ETF, which is big for big money.
Yeah, no, I agree. The yield is going to be a big kind of thing, kind of pulling them in. Yeah, like the market's just really healthy right now. Like there's not a ton of leverage in it. The leverage is getting flushed out right now. That's why the prices are going down right now. You want this in a market. You want Bitcoin to drop like a nice 10, 15%. I mean, even like a nice 30%, like a little flush out would be brutal. People would die. They hate it. But it'd be so healthy because it would just get all that leverage out. And then we'd be like, cool, we have like a nice little foundation to build off of. And the more that happens, actually the higher price can go. So like the more you flush out leverage and build a strong foundation, the higher prices can go. So you want to see this. If it goes up only, like that is when you get the short cycle. You don't want that. You don't want that. You want the flushing out of that leverage. You want to get the scum out of the system so we can have a clean, healthy, super vibrant, little ecosystem so we can build and keep going. And then the last thing is that, well, for one, I actually believe there's still a possibility. It's getting late in the game. I might be proved wrong on this, but that we'll see stimulus from, some sort of stimulus promise from Trump or Biden on some level. Like, hey, maybe even stimmy checks,
nice.
But something like free money if you vote for me. Like that's just such a great way to. I mean, like they know they're not going to have to pay the price themselves. Yeah. They know it's going to be future generations. So I just don't see why they would be responsible enough to not do that. So I still kind of keep thinking they might do that. But like you mentioned, retail isn't here. They're feeling the FOMO. But I think at their core, they really believe that this rally is going to fail like the others. And until they see sustained price action over 70,000, until like the roof is like fully out of sight. Like we broke through the all-time high, and that is in the rear view mirror. And all that they can see ahead is just blue skies and limitless possibilities. Until that, they are not jumping in all the way. But when that happens, your mom's best friend from the salon, your cousin Jerry, they're all jumping in. They're going to be texting you and telling you what to buy. They're going to be like, dude, I found this new token. It's amazing. It's called Wong's Dong. And it's
I ate that.
They are innovating on a level you've never heard. They're building a blockchain, AI, interoperability, customized modular standard, and it's gonna change the whole industry. So you're gonna see that kind of stuff. It's still ahead of us. It's still early. Anyone selling right now, I think, is making a huge mistake.
Yeah, think about it. And I think that marker you're talking about is probably the 100K mark. I think psychologically that's going to blow people's minds. Like 70,000 is crazy. It's not. It's an insane number to look at. You're like, oh, because I remember Bitcoin when it was like $10-12, right? And like, I remember trying to buy it and like being confused and just giving up. What a life lesson. And seeing it 70K is it's bananas. But 6 figures, adding a zero to that is, oh my God, it is crazy.
Have you heard the thing of like, technically with inflation, the all-time high still hasn't been broken?
Really? What is it? What would it be at?
I think it's like 78 or 77,000 is like technically, if you account for inflation, that is the real all-time high.
But isn't like inflation of Bitcoin or inflation of
the US dollar? Because you're measuring it against the US dollar. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So here it is. I looked it up right now. Adjusted for inflation, the all-time high for Bitcoin against the US dollar is around $77,000 today. So there is this weird case of like, we say, oh, we've broken all-time highs, all this, but really like inflation gave us a little bit of a leg up there. And if you're really looking at like what the adjusted all-time high is, it's actually $77,000, and we haven't actually broken that yet. So maybe we won't break that till after halving, and actually everything is in line, and it's the same way it's always been. We're just all, and maybe in the rear view mirror, everyone will say that. They'll be like, oh yeah, we didn't really break the all-time high. That didn't count because, inflation adjusted, it was 77,000.
You're gonna need to like the big people start pumping that narrative, because I know I've seen stuff about like before we actually broke the number all-time high. Like we've broken it in like 75% of countries, right? But it's because of currency fluctuations and stuff like that.
Yep.
So I see that people were using it as a benchmark, but I think really like the 100,000. And then the next one for me on like seeing the cycle length is going to be like following that pattern of diminishing returns that we've always seen with Bitcoin, right? Mm-hmm. Which I forget exactly what the number is, but it's like mid 100,000s, I think, is like if you like follow the chart down, right? I don't have that number off the top of my head, but if we cross that number and keep going past that, then I'm like, okay, this is a different kind of cycle because we're breaking the math actually on diminishing returns now. That changes the game as well. Right, if we see that and big money's still piling in, retail's still piling in, I'm like, okay, now it's legitimately a key factor of the 4-year cycle is broken, right? So that I think that would change it. I just don't remember what the number was.
So far this cycle, it's felt so easy to predict what would happen using an analog of what happened in the past. And every time people are like, it can't be that easy. It can't be that simple.
I've seen you make calls, and I say that in my head every time. I'm like, can't be that easy. Can't be that easy.
Yeah, but it has been. Like, it's been stupid easy, and it's just like people seem to overthink it. But it's like the smart people overthink it. The average retail person isn't even aware of it. And so it just keeps doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's nuts. I watch it too. And actually, thinking about things that are nuts, going back to your points on wealth creation. I know you talked about this actually. That's where I got this point, is from the airdropping. Yeah. Because I think that's also bringing a lot of people. Yeah. Because my mom needed some money. I told her, I sent her a link to like the Grass one where you can just set up a browser. I was like, just set this up. I'll get a referral, and you'll just earn a small airdrop just for putting this on your computer, Like, and people are probably just getting people in like that, and the wealth from it. Like, I just got an enormous airdrop for bridging funds, which most of which was authentic usage. It was just one wallet, but because I sent it to other wallets, it counted those wallets, and I'm like, what do I do with this money now? Right? I'm going to keep some of it.
What airdrop was it?
Wormhole.
Wow, stupid wormhole. Dude, did I tell you what happened that with me?
Yeah, that's so crap. You got to tell people though. But okay, that was nuts.
I have a Madlad. It's like an NFT. I bought it at 2K. I actually suck at investing in NFTs. Like, I had like 3 just absolute duds in a row. I think I bought Cock Punch, which was like these giant roosters. I bought a lot of stupid stuff that none of them worked out. And then I got in Madlad because I was like, man, I actually like this one. Like, this is the only one that I could see myself rocking, like as like a PFP. I bought it. It was 2K. And these things have absolutely just like skyrocketed. It's like $30,000 per NFT right now. Which, by the way, I did go in the group chat. And I told a bunch of people to get it. I don't think anyone else got it but me. But man, those things, doing amazing. Okay, but anyway, so Wormhole airdrop for Madlad holders. But there's like these weird qualifications you had to do. So you had to join this Discord, the Wormhole Discord. I did that. I joined the Discord a long time ago, like a year ago. I joined it. What I didn't do was click a stupid button that like assigned linked my Discord to my PFP. I don't typically do that because I get like kind of weirded out. I was like, oh, I don't want to get rugged. I don't want something weird to happen. I don't know. And so I didn't do that. Apparently, it came out that like you had to do that in order to qualify for this airdrop. That sucks. But what really sucks is like I looked at the size of the airdrop, and like pre-market, it's looking at a $30,000 airdrop for Madlad holders that I don't get because I didn't click one button, and that is like so crap. Yeah, it is. It's so stupid. But that is the airdrop game. I've clicked all the other buttons. I went to all the other Discords after that, and I like read their newsletter every week. And I'm like, okay, this one, clicking all the buttons, saying a couple things in the chat, and hopefully that pays off.
Yeah, well, yeah. You really have to like monitor it. I think as it gets more competitive too, because having a Madlad's a very big collection now, very established, like doing big things. Paying attention to all of it, because I thought about buying one. I caught on to it from the Obsidian Council when it was like 8K. That's when I noticed it. And I was like, man, I should get one of these, right? I was like, where did I even move money from, right? Where can I get free liquidity? And by the time I just gotten around to it and I was like, all right, I should get serious about this. It was already at 16. And I was like, God, this ship is left. And of course now it's doubled again. I'll probably end up like, I'll just buy it way higher. I'll top buy NFTs this cycle. That's what I'll do.
I think we're going to see for sure a Madlad go for above 100K this cycle. Maybe higher, but we'll see. It's the number one NFT collection on Solana. It's like the Solana mascot. Then they have their like backpack wallet. They have their backpack exchange. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Who's doing? Yeah. All right. No, yeah. So we work with the guys from Pipe to get our price feeds.
Okay.
And that's how I qualified for my first airdrop, was using our own platform. And then they also gave us as a organization. Organizations got airdrops. That wasn't just us. But anyways, the guys we deal with there, and Pipe is very connected.
Yeah. They are.
And the guys we deal with there, I think one or two of them, they both have like Madlad NFTs. Right, like as their profile pictures. I'm like, oh, that should have been a sign.
It was such an easy call, because if like during the bear market, if you looked at every like major player in the space, like 7 out of 10 of them had a Madlad as their PFP. And it's like this collection you never heard of, came along in the bear market, super cheap. And that was like where I was like, I really suck at investing in NFTs, but I'm going to go for this one because I actually like it. It doesn't look stupid like a lot of the other ones. And a bunch of people are rocking it. So yeah, in retrospect, I should have bought like 30 of them. But I was stupid and I didn't do that. So,
I feel like the same thing. When I do buy NFTs, I'm not good at it. When I do buy them, I always just do like one, right? I'm like, oh, one NFT. But then you get into a situation where you do end up in profit. You're like, well, do I sell my only one? It's my only one.
Yeah. I know.
You can't like I guess you could like put it. They have like a lot of stuff I've noticed actually is like a lot of DeFi stuff coming for NFTs. I saw perpetuals, which is another place where I messed up with Madlads. I was like, you know what? I was like, this is too expensive now. I should open a long on like on this perps dex to long Madlads. I was like, that way I still get exposure and I won't have to fill the FOMO. But the platform was new. The guy sounded sketchy in the AMA. I was like, I don't know about using this platform. Go back and check it. The perps position, just the value of it on there is doubled. So my long position, who knows? It's like, Madlads have burned me so hardcore by my own inactions this cycle.
Wait, where can you long NFT? I didn't even know you could do this. So wait,
yeah, there's a lot of stuff that they're like building around NFTs, but like that was a really cool one I saw. I think it's on Solana. I want to say it's called Kujita or something.
Okay.
The price feeds definitely need work. It's not like auto updating like you would like if you're like trading Bitcoin. It's much more choppy. It's like when you look at like a pre-market price on like one of these things for a token, it's a bit like that, right? Because there's a lot to do, I think, in terms, because it's a very illiquid compared to like a token, right? So I think determine that, but there's interesting stuff going on.
What do you think? What's your personal opinion on like what's going to happen with NFTs this cycle? Because so far we haven't seen any NFT action. Last time it was like the retail darling. Like Gary Vee was like going on talk shows talking about how NFTs is the future. Everyone, Logan Paul was scamming everyone and his mom with NFTs. Like NFTs were just everywhere. And now it feels like nobody cares about NFTs. What's your take?
I think NFTs are going to do great. I was like, that's one of the things I wanted to do that I didn't do in the bear market is get more into NFTs. Learn more about NFTs, find good collections to buy. Right? Because I think it'll come, and I think that is another indicator a bit, right? Because if you think of it like art, and yeah, I know there are other use cases for it, right? Like I'm talking about these DeFi things you can do with it. But as a main thing, it is like a collectible where you have a community, and like it's a lot built about marketing and community and having something to represent your place within that community, or like something artistic. So it's our version of art in our space, in my opinion. And who buys art? Do the people on food stamps buy art, or do the people with a lot of money buy art? Right? So we're waiting until everyone has a lot of money, and then they're going to start buying art. That's a very rudimentary way to explain it, but I think NFTs will have their day later in the cycle.
I don't disagree. I actually agree fully with what you're saying. So like, I think this is really the third cycle for NFTs. A lot of people don't remember, but like back in 2017, there were NFTs. They just, nobody cared about them. They were like these weird.
Was that like CryptoKitties?
Yeah, CryptoKitties. Yeah. It was like people were like, oh, this is cool. It had like a flash in the pan moment, and then people were like, this is stupid. And then they moved on. And then the second wave of NFTs, people just went nuts. But what you had was like pretty much every collection that dropped would like hit these astronomical numbers, and people were like just aping into every single thing. And it was really similar to what Memecoins are doing right now, where it's just like every single collection was skyrocketing. People were making just like piles of money off of NFTs. Some of these NFTs were like selling for millions of dollars. It was crazy. And then now we're in the third cycle, and we just reached this stage of maturity where I like you said, I think we're going to have to wait for people to have money to really buy these things. But I think it's a proven model of like people like flexing with NFTs. They like belonging to a special club. And look at all the airdrops NFT holders are getting. Like that alone should I have a Madlad NFT. If I had clicked that button, I made $30,000. I spent $2,000 on this thing. And so, you want kind of like these mascots for each chain in the form of NFTs. And those are unique. And then like I mentioned to Memecoins, we had Memecoins last cycle. That was like kind of their first cycle. Not really. Like they were around in 2017 too. Doge was around. But last cycle was like their first kind of like mainstream. This cycle feels like more like their NFT cycle, where every one of them is skyrocketing. People are going crazy. They're almost in another way tribes on chains, and they're almost in another way mascots on chains. You have Doge for ETH. You have Bonk for Solana, and a bunch of them on Solana. You have like Toshi on Base. On Avalanche, you have Cox, I think. Cock. And then
COQ.
It's a rooster. It's a rooster. So like each different chain has like their little mascot, and that's like their meme coin, right? They have their little meme coin mascot. So it's very similar to NFTs. And I do wonder how much market share they'll take from NFTs, but I do feel like NFTs are inherently different because you like actually belong to a club with the NFT, where with the meme coin, you're like, it's more like an inside joke. that you all belong to versus like an actual like club?
Well, I don't know. So I have a theory about memes and DeFi. It's like meme-fi, kind of, for this cycle. But I think NFTs can also be included. So it's kind of the absurdity of the meme tokens themselves, like launching, which is nothing but like, they keep calling it narrative in these like Telegram chats I'm in. I'm like, this isn't a narrative. You're just changing a letter of something. That's not a narrative, right? But they all believe it's a narrative, so it becomes a narrative. But I think what you're going to see is like, because they run out of road, right?
Yeah.
If they're managing the project well, right? It's about like the things I mentioned before, marketing it, we're having a market maker, like real connections in the space and like taking it very seriously. But you do still, like a lot of them, what they do is they launch NFT collections alongside it, and they add DeFi stuff to it. So I think, like, conspiracy theory is you may get those conjoint into like these. The meme is the face of the community. The community represent themselves with the NFTs, and their shield, their weaponry is their DeFi functionality. So you may just get this machine that turns into like this meme-fi NFT monster, which is just a conspiracy theory, but it could happen.
Maybe. I feel like so many of them are flashes in the pan, though. Like right now, like Trump and Biden or Joe Biden and Trump or whatever.
Tramp.
Those things are like, they make a lot of sense because we have the election, right? Like in retrospect, that should have been really obvious. So you could probably look forward and be like, okay, what else is coming up? And then those big things, we're going to have whatever tentpole events those are. You're going to have a meme coin around that, and it's going to do really, really well. Probably going to have like 100 meme coins. You got to pick out of that 100 the good one. But like it feels like it's almost like this weird voting gambling game of like, what do you think is going to get the most popular? They're kind of our narratives, like in like dog coins, and then the cat coins, and then like political coins. And you can kind of play off of that, or like right now it's like the 2.0, right? You're seeing all these weird like Pepe 2.0, Doge 2.0, and they're like doing decent, going to like 30 million. So there's like weird narratives, but you can't really count. It feels like nothing's solid. It's not like anything you can count on, and it is really hard to predict which ones of these are going to win and which ones aren't. And it's much more of a game than it really is investing. And I think the people that win consistently, 9 times out of 10, are influencers who control the narrative or are in some sort of insiders club. I don't know if there really is anyone that like consistently wins that doesn't have some sort of insiders information over everyone else.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's 100% true. I think it's only once it, like you said, becomes established, then other people can win. It has to break through that, because if you just see a random meme token, like if it gets shilled to you, if you're reasonably smart about it, and it's a green candle, it's been going green, right? It's gone from a $5,000 market cap to a $400,000 market cap. Don't buy it. Like the hammer's coming. Right, the hammer's coming, and it's probably going to be returning to a $5,000 market cap if it's lucky, right? Mm-hmm. That's where its base will be, depending on if like tokens were sold from before, like they weren't bought. But anyways, you're going to lose money. Is all I'm saying on that. Like it's absolutely a rigged game. So to get around that, you kind of have to buy the ones that are established. But those are the ones I'm kind of talking about. It's like building out utility for, like, they've made it to that point. Right, these are serious people, like serious intentions. And like those are the ones I think would jump into like NFTs and things like that, which some of them have, like Bitcoin did Harry Potter Obama.
Well, that's Sonic 10 and you.
Yeah. You got to get one of those NFTs, baby. That's what it's about.
Yeah. I think if you're over like 20 million, you have like some sort of like, okay, this thing's like, it's passed a certain test. And then you can say, do you think this is funny or not? And does it line up with kind of what's popular? Where like, I do think, okay, here's my insights, my like super deep insights into the meme coin culture, which I'm not into meme coins, but like, I'll give you my thoughts, my thesis. Last cycle, dogs, huge. This cycle, dogs, still huge. I think based off that, people know it's the time for cats. It is like literally so simplistic, so stupid, but often with meme coins, cat is the answer. We're going to see cat coins this cycle. We're going to see a cat coin past $1 billion. We're going to see a cat coin, I think, past like 10 billion, maybe even higher. And so you can look at cat coins and say, okay, these things are probably going to do well this cycle. Trump and Biden tokens probably going to do well this cycle. Pepe, maybe it's pretty big. It did a rally in the bear market, so maybe when the bull market comes, like it has this new breath of life. So there are ones you can kind of bet on, but you're not going to get those like 1,000, 10,000x gains, you're looking at like maybe 100x gain, which 50x gain, which those are great. Those are, I mean, anyone
amazing.
complaining, yeah, I would love that. So, but yeah, it's a little different game, but it is a little bit more dependable game where I think other people are more often than not gambling, and then people cherry pick the winners and show them on Twitter, and you're seeing those. You're seeing the
Gamblers
guys that
always
won.
talk about winners. Gamblers always talk about winners.
Yeah, well, that's what we want to see. We want to see winners. We don't want to see like the 1,000 people that lost buying like, Bonk 2.0 or whatever it is. So,
yeah.
What meme coins do you hold?
Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic 10, Inu.
Yeah. People's Bitcoin.
This is what I love about the cock coin, by the way. I hold cock. Right? I'm going to ride cock to the top. Let me see. That's what I'm telling you. That is so catchy. Like, I haven't been able to stop saying it. So, what's it called? I laugh at it. Like, so I'm like, I have to have. I'm honestly like, when I get like the money from my large airdrop, I'll probably buy some more, because it's like $400 million market cap now. But it's the biggest on AVAX. Right, it's the number one on AVAX. AVAX is actually trying to incubate memes. They have programs for it, and like it's too funny, bro. It's too funny. You know what I mean? Let's call it. What else do I have? I don't know if I have many other. I don't do the Doge or Sheep. I bought Doge during the bear market in like 2018, like $15, and then I wake up one day and it's worth like $225.
Dang.
And I was like, whoa, it was like 7 cents. Right? I was like, sweet, I just sold that. All right, you see the swipe that you could tell was on Robinhood. I just sold that, and then let's call it 10x from there. I was like, damn, damn, sold early. I have a bunch of like spaces on like my Phantom app of like coins I've bought that went to zero immediately, because I too am a gambler. But most of my meme token holdings are dead tokens that I bought with like $10.
Dang. Well, I haven't bought that many meme coins at all, but I do have some Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic 10 EU, ticker Bitcoin. And that's actually up. So for a while that was down. Like I bought that and it was like kind of down for a little bit, but now I'm winning with that one. And then I have Cat with Hat. So no, with
I bought that one too. I forgot. I bought that one too. Yeah.
That's a small one. So I'm hoping that does good. And that's just literally my thesis of like, I have two theses. You got to go like to kindergarten. Like you got to go down to your kindergarten brain and like remember what you thought back then. That if you want to win with meme coins. So again, was dogs, cats are going to be next.
It's so difficult to surrender to that though. It's so difficult to surrender to like, it's just going to be cats. Here's $5,000. You know, like. Well,
I mean that's what I'm doing. And then my other thesis is dog with hat is one of the biggest tokens, and it's genius. Like you just like they're like, hey, dog coins are big. What if we put a hat on a dog? That'll be even bigger. Genius.
Bro, they raised $700K. They raised $700K to put their dog on a sphere in Vegas. It's nuts.
I know that's going to be on the sphere. And so I think dog with hat going on the sphere is going to be a lot of hype for dog with hat. But cat with hat, cats have been wearing hats longer than dogs have. Okay, we have cat in the hat, right? Okay, so if I was in kindergarten, I'd be like, this makes a lot more sense. Cat with hat, and so that's,
I'm gonna tell you, kitty with Mitty, right? I think that one would crush it.
Somebody's making it right now. Somebody's making it right now. I'm making it right now. No, and then the other one I have is loaf. That one's like not as funny to me, but it's like a cat that's like a bread loaf, and I don't know. That's like a weird gamble for me. I don't really know my thesis even on it, except for the site was kind of cool. I liked seeing this little cat face on a piece of bread, and I was like, kind of made me hungry, but also kind of made me think I was gonna make some money somehow. So
yeah. Yeah, the site does sell it, but I've been fooled by that because Harry Potter. Let's call it. I saw that site and I was like. I was like, okay, obviously I'm buying this, right? Yeah. Like, but then I did it again. There's another. Go ahead.
I was going to be fair. If you'd have bought that early on, geez, I mean that one has really done really well. It's just big.
It actually did a 10x before I bought it, from the time I saw it. Right? It just blitzed on me.
I don't know. I said that.
Let's call it. And let's call it. But I saw another one. I was like, oh, the website's probably a really good indicator, right? Because it shows effort. And stuff. Yeah. But what I've been seeing with these little meme coins I gamble on is like there's actually like a lot of really good websites out there. I'm like, is this a bad metric to be using for this? But theirs was unique from a content perspective. Like it was savage, like savage. But they've also been around. Like they're not a new meme token, right?
Were you
like
talking about Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic Saninu?
Yeah, they've been around for quite some time.
So savage. The last meme coin I have is actually I don't know if I should say that one because that one's so small. I own a bag. Say it. Okay. Let's kind of move on. We've talked about meme coins for a long time. Do we think? So I had somebody ask me this the other day. Do we have a multi-year up only cycle? It's like the opposite of what we talked about earlier. Not a short cycle, but some people are saying. This is exactly what we talked about earlier. Do we have a multi-year up-only cycle like gold did when it got its ETF? So this is kind of like a thing. Like gold, after it's got its ETF, it just like skyrocketed up only for like years. Is that what we're going to see with Bitcoin? Do we break the 4-year cycle in the other way? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's a mix of a couple of things I talked about, and then on the gold side. Right, like one of the things they say about Bitcoin versus gold is like if gold 10x's in price, you can melt your jewelry, and you can junkies can start stealing it from equipment and all this stuff. Like there's supply will be found. People will open new mining operations to go and find more. Right, and that's the biggest contribution probably. But if you have a gold fork and that gold fork was worth $40 and now it's worth $400, you're probably going to go sell your gold fork and go down to like a silver fork or something. The rest of us plebs, and but that can't happen with Bitcoin, right? So that is one factor in the sense of that. But other points to that on my side, from my view, is the things I talked about earlier with what happens with breaking the diminishing returns chart. If we break that and keep going, that's one, and also the macro with the easing. Because if we break, we keep going through this year with no rate cuts, right, and we keep going up, and then we get the rate cuts, that's going to carry us from a money supply like point of view. Like we are going to keep going, and then there's two factors you've broken now, and then you can't produce any more of it. So like, and I think
it's worth mentioning that the Bitcoin ETFs have been the most successful ETFs in history at this point. Like
I saw these stupid articles like dunking on it, like after like it failed. What now for Bitcoin? I'm like, what are you talking about?
Well, that was like right after launch because the price of Bitcoin went down. But like since then, it has broken every record that any ETF has ever set. Like these things are just crushing. It's like, like if the other ETFs that like Wall Street was getting, those were like, sugar highs for Wall Street. And like Bitcoin's like meth for BlackRock. They're losing their minds. They're like, they have never gotten such sweet fees. They're probably sitting in their back office, literally just dying on the ground. Like, what is happening? We're going to be so filthy rich because they make so much fees off of these things. So like the amount of like marketing that they're going to unleash and are in the process of doing, like they're going to sell everyone and their mom on Bitcoin because it is in their best interest to do so. And they have found a product that sells unlike anything ever before in history. And they're going to go nuts bananas on this thing. And what do you think they're going to do with the ETH ETF? Gosh, like I don't even understand how you can be bearish on like, if it was like freaking Litecoin, if they had a Litecoin ETF, I don't care how like think of the stupidest token you can think of. If they had a Cardano ETF, okay, like that thing would rip any ETF. The next ETF that comes out is going to rip unlike anything else because people are just going to be like, oh, Bitcoin ETF, record breaking. Next one
Proof
also
concept.
is going to be, They're going to market it. They're going to push that thing to the masses. Everyone's going to buy in. That token price is going to go up. If it was ETH, the amount of ETH on exchanges is so freaking small. Like if you look over the last 2 years at the chart, like Bitcoin supply has gone down, but you have miners, so they're still putting stuff on exchanges. ETH doesn't have any new excess ETH coming onto the market. It's deflationary. So like all the rewards that go to validators, like that's like a very small. It's much smaller than Bitcoin miners rewards get paid out to miners. Okay, really small inflation rate, but that inflation rate gets offset by the burn. So like anytime somebody does a transaction on ETH, they burn Ethereum. So like permanently it's gone. It's like disappeared, poof. And that's like by and far, like they have burned, it's like billions of dollars that have been burned in ETH over the last year.
It's like negative 1%, which is insane. Like
Yes.
for something of that size to be declining. Like Bitcoin goes up like to, I think it's 1 to 2% now. Like
it's like
inflation rate.
1% something. Like 1 to 2%. Gold goes up about like 1%, and ETH goes down 1%. And so like all that supply that like would be on exchanges like isn't there. But like even worse than that, so it's like rapidly declining on exchanges, and that's where like where do you think they got to go buy this ETH, somewhere for these ETFs. On top of that, unlike Bitcoin, what do people do with it? They buy it, they hold it in a wallet. That is like literally fundamentally what you do with Bitcoin. ETH, people use that for like pairs, DeFi, staking, restaking. Like there's so many different things people use Ethereum for. It is actually like a form of money in the crypto ecosystem. And so that takes supply out of the market. So like the amount of like the little amount of ETH that there is available to actually buy is really, really small. So as ETF comes, if you see like even like half the Bitcoin flows that we're seeing, the price of ETH is going to move at such a rapid pace up, it's going to be like eye-watering, because when you have a little bit of float, a little bit of supply on the open market, the rest is all locked up somewhere, it just skyrockets that price, and it's just going to go through the roof. And that I don't even remember what we're talking about. I'm just getting so pumped right now. Oh yeah,
income. It has the income too, right? You said it like makes like $8 billion a year or something. It's like an operating system.
It's not $8 billion. It's like $4 billion. I think is the annual revenue of Ethereum.
All right, $4 billion. But it has revenue, right? The stock is the thing you have to hold to use the operating system. I've acquired most of my ETH just from having to operate in crypto. Yeah. I didn't used to like ETH. I was like, ETH is whatever. I was like, I don't even like the name ETH. I was like, I already have my Bitcoin. I'm going to try this stuff. And I've just acquired it from and I've liked it more and more as time has gone on. But I've just acquired it from having to use it. And stuff like being left in my wallet.
You got to use it on the layer 1. You got to use it on layer 2. But a lot of people hate on ETH. They're like, hey, I hate Ethereum, the blockchain. Okay, you can hate the high fees on Ethereum, the blockchain. We're talking about ETH, the asset. The ETH, the asset that is used on Solana. It's used on all these L2s. It's used literally everywhere. That thing has so much use. It's ridiculous. Okay. And so it is the native gas token of the majority of these L2s. And so when they're paying gas, they're going to pay it in Ethereum. And so people got to have ETH for a lot of different things. And so yeah, it is a widely used thing. It is a yielding, so it's deflationary and it yields around 3%. And then with restaking, that's going to go up even higher and increase the demand for ETH as well. So yeah, when these ETFs hit off with Ethereum, I really don't think people understand how insane it's going to be. It's going to be absurd. You can be really bullish on Solana. I think Solana's going to do really good this cycle, or whatever. Whatever token you're really excited about, probably do decent when retail shows up. But Ethereum, the really big thing about it is that BlackRock, they're going to make that ETF happen. They're going to walk into the SEC and I don't even know, throw a fit. They will make this thing happen because the amount of money they know they can tap into, and they're going to sell that thing to everyone and their mom. And when Ethereum goes up, guess what? Your beautiful tokens that you hold in whatever wallet on whatever exchange are also going to go up because it's going to increase the pie for everyone. You want this to happen. If you hold Solana and you hate Ethereum, you want this to happen because your Solana is going to go up. Because if Ethereum goes to $3 trillion, okay, what do you think is going to happen to Solana? People are going to be like, oh, Solana, your thesis is going to be like, oh, it's better than Ethereum. It should at least be at 3 trillion. So, I don't know if it'll hit 3 trillion. Maybe it goes to 1 trillion. Who knows? You're going to make a lot more money that way. Okay, so you want this to happen. I don't care what token if you're holding Cox, okay, on Avalanche, you're holding a meme coin.
I hold millions of Cox.
Yeah, you want this to happen because that money is going to find its way into all kinds of places. Okay, all kinds of places. So a multi-year up only cycle like Bitcoin did or like gold did. If that happened, the bullishness of what's going to happen to these assets is going to hit history books. For generations, they will talk of this time period and they'll say it was the greatest bubble to ever exist because it will create the greatest bubble in all of existence and all of mankind. And the amount of money that you will be able to make will be eye-watering. I don't know if there ever will be an opportunity like that if we see a multi-year cycle-breaking run with Bitcoin. I don't think we're going to actually see that, but if we did,
well,
it'd be
what you're
crazy.
talking about is actually like a really good point for the overall market, right?
Yeah.
Because although Bitcoin is the anchor for the market, right? It's not like it exists in its own world. It is the king of that world, but there are other factors at play. So that's another thing on the timeline as well, right? Because it is being pushed back, the ETH ETF. Imagine if that's another factor gets kicked down the line, right? We break the trend on the diminishing returns. We have quantitative easing early next year, and we also have an ETH ETF like late in the year. I mean, it's going to just be this explosion of interest into the space, which, like where ETH takes off and Bitcoin just keeps growing because crypto is still safer because you still have net inflows into the space, right? Maybe it's not booming like crazy. Like that's the main ETF now, but it's just new capital. And then you're just getting like this, that goes for another year and who knows. I don't know. I'm along for the ride with you, buddy. Like I'm
along too. I don't actually think we're going to have a multi-year cycle like that, but I do subscribe to kind of what you mentioned early on, which is that we'll have it lever up. The dip, the bear market's going to be softer than normal. It's not going to be as brutal as normal because these ETF flows, because of this, like the size of everything. And it's going to, like, this last bear market wasn't that bad. Like you had like a year, not even really a year. You had like 8 months of really, really painful stuff. Like in retrospect, if you look at big picture, some really painful stuff happened, and then it was up only. And we felt like we were getting attacked all the time, but like, man, we made so much money during the last 2 years. It was ridiculous. So I think it'll be kind of like that, where it's like you will have a year of kind of like down only, or like, about that. And then it's just up. It's just great. And you're just happy to be here. And maybe it's not quite like, hey, we don't have any dips. You still have these kind of like big dips like this, but then it just sends higher and then higher and higher to a point where I think Bitcoin will become pretty large, pretty hefty little thing there. You're gonna have a lot of countries holding it on their balance sheet. You're gonna have a lot of weird things happening, and then Bitcoin kind of gets merged into the global financial system in a way, and it's going to be a beautiful, weird thing to see.
Yeah, my dopamine receptors are ready for the next couple of years.
Yeah, mine too. Well, we've been going long on this podcast. Let's maybe wrap it up with what's next for the market from here. In your opinion, what do you think is going to happen? Like, think shorter term, okay? So you and me both believe at some point next year, the market's going to at least at some point next year. What do you think is next for maybe like the next 6 months?
Next 6 months? I mean, I think you'll continue to see what you see, right? Like, I think it's going to be the same pattern of like growth and then diminishing growth if it's still only the same money coming in on these flows, these ETFs, obviously, because like the same money won't move it as much. And you'll have like the dips along the way. And then you get to halving. And like I said, on my theory for like a more condensed cycle is like, you're going to see after the halving, I would say, instead of it taking, several months for that math to kick in on the accumulation, because that's what happens, right? It gets cut in half, but then there's still all this stuff in the market, right? It's still like negatively looked down on, but we've gotten past that phase. We've accumulated all the stuff that was out there to pick up, all the free stuff. So I think that is a month from now, thereabouts. 420, which is like a hilarious, like, if this were like the super cycle, I think it's scheduled for 420, which would be Jesus Christ.
What is happening?
I think like then May, June, like, is going to be just, like you're going to see like what we felt on the come up for the ETF. I think you're going to see that as well. Like Pompliano and stuff has been on talking about like, after the all-time high break, it's 18 days and it doubles. Like, I don't think that. I don't think we're going to double before the halving, because I think right now there's not a bunch of like retail money flowing in here. Yeah. Right. And stuff like that. I think it's like we're just getting ETFs piling in who are not like aping it. They're just buying a steady amount. And that steady amount is only going to start like having that much more big impact now following the halving. And anyone who understands that, who may try to front run it.
You make a really good point. I've heard a lot of people say that, like, because the halving is like maybe power over the market, it's like cut each cycle, right? Like, when Bitcoin was doing, I don't remember what it, like 12 Bitcoin per block or whatever. That might be inaccurate, but you get the picture. 12 Bitcoin per block, and it's cut to 6 Bitcoin. That's a pretty big cut. But then when it's cut from 6 to 3, that's a lot smaller, and then 3 to 1.5, again, smaller. And so like the diminishing effect on the market. But if you think about last cycle to this cycle, one thing that is different is like, it's going to be a diminishing effect. But look at the flows from the ETF. So it's like you have increased demand, and then the supply cut's not as bad. But because I think the added demand increase, it might have a similar outsized effect as what we saw last time. Because these miners are putting supply onto these exchanges that's much needed for these ETFs, and when that supply gets cut in half, getting put on the exchanges, that will have an effect on the market, because we have these ETF flows that are only going to increase from here. And I want to really drill that down. They're only going to get bigger and crazier from here, because the biggest players still haven't gotten in, and they're sitting on the sidelines FOMOing. They're building anticipation. These are humans with emotional, feelings like everyone else. And they're like, oh, this is stupid. Why are we taking so long? We need to get in here. We need to get this. We need, people are getting,
it's game theory, bro.
Yeah.
It's game theory. The more people that get into it, the more stressful it becomes for people who are not. Because here if you're a financial advisor or whoever else manages money, you're sitting there, right? And maybe you don't like Bitcoin. Like a lot of finance people I know do not like it. They're like, oh, it's stupid. I haven't spent 10 minutes to even look into it, but it's stupid. It's fake, But guess who is, right? Like their customers get news articles. Their customers have friends. Their customers, and then they start asking about it. They're like, well, John, my buddy, his financial advisor plugged him into the ETF at launch, and his portfolio's up, because he put 5% in his total portfolio's up, some number that's much bigger than mine, right?
Yeah.
Why have we not allocated to this, right? And that's the game theory of it, right? Because as an advisor, you're competing with other, it's career risk, right? And you start weighing it out. You're like, well, okay, I'm more amenable to this now because of my own self-interest. Mm-hmm. What is, now I'll sit down and do the math. What is a reasonable amount to put in, and have a conversation with them about this, right? Just as something there.
And they have increased or decreased risk because BlackRock's so bullish on it. Like you have the CEO of BlackRock going around saying it's the future of finance. Last cycle you had a little bit of career risk because you're like, hey, everyone's saying this is a scam. You're saying to get into it. If this goes wrong, that's on you. Now BlackRock CEO is saying it's future of finance. So you're getting into it. You can say, hey, dude, Larry Fink was telling me to get into this thing. Like this is, I'm not a bad advisor. Like everyone was doing this. So it's a little bit different. And so I really do think this cycle, we're going to see a lot of those wealth advisors start allocating into Bitcoin. And like you said, it's like 5%, 3 to 5% or whatever other portfolio. It's like kind of like their play money, right? And people are gonna be like, it's like the way we play with meme coins, they're going to play with some Bitcoin, right? And it's going to, and then ETF, and then ETH, that's gonna take a little portion of that, right? And so it's gonna get out of control from here. And I think the thing people keep forgetting, and this is the one mistake I think a ton of people are making, is they literally are stuck in last cycle. So they're looking at like, how can I get 1,000x gain or 100x gain? And so they're looking at, okay, if I want 100x gain, this token can only go to about 5 billion, 10 billion if it's like a good token, right? And so they're saying, okay, I need to get it at whatever X level down in the millions or whatever to get that 100X gain. And when they see a token that's sitting at 1 billion, they're like, that can't get to 100X because it's already at 1 billion. It's not going to go to 100 billion. The thing that they're missing is that every single cycle, when Bitcoin goes up further, it raises the entire watermark of the market. And people's imaginations now expand to this thing. Like Ethereum, in people's minds, can't go higher than Bitcoin. That's like in people's brains, it just can't happen. Bitcoin's number one, Ethereum's number two. So in their minds, like if Bitcoin's at 700 billion or whatever, if ETH could go to 500 billion, maybe, but it's not going to 700 billion. But if Bitcoin goes to $5 trillion, ETH could now go to $4 trillion in their brain. And if ETH goes to $4 trillion, well, now Solana could go to $3 trillion in their brain. And if Solana could go to $3 trillion, this token. I'm really bullish on Polygon this cycle because of the ag layer and everything that's being built, and like the fundamental of like they're essentially building crypto's version of the internet, and everyone's sleeping on this stuff. It's amazing. What they're doing is amazing. So I like this cycle, I think my like my like base case is Polygon goes to like 70, 80 billion, something like that. That's not, I don't feel like that's very controversial to say that. My like kind of more bullish case is it goes to like 200 billion. That's maybe a little bit more psycho, but not quite.
Nice.
BNB went to 100 billion last cycle. It's not that crazy. My bull case is it goes to 500 billion. And that's where people like lose their minds. They're like, that is impossible. ETH isn't, like close to that. But here's the thing. Like, I genuinely think Solana is going to go to 500 billion this cycle, just based off the narrative of it's like this ETH killer, right? And so people are the watermark's raised, they're going to push it up. And I think Polygon's like inherently better than like it is the greatest solution to the scaling problem that I see on the field today. Because of the way that they use their ag layer, the way they use ZK proofs to be able to move between chains, sub 5 seconds. You can move between a chain in sub 5 seconds. You can, anytime you need more block space, spin up a new chain. And, the scaling problem's done. The fractured liquidity, not an issue because they have unified liquidity. Having to like all this annoying things of like ETH L2s are annoying to bridge between. That's not a thing anymore. And so it's just like, and I don't see why everyone wouldn't want to plug into the ag layer. It's just a no-brainer. Even like, they talk about getting kind of nerdy here, but they talk about shared sequencers over like optimism using shared sequencers or, these kind of things, right? And I was talking to Brendan Farmer from Polygon. He's like one of the foremost experts in zero knowledge and ZK. And he was talking about like shared sequencers aren't even like competitive to the ag layer. They're actually complementary. So like you would actually still plug into the ag layer. But then you'd use shared sequencers for between like if you wanted your chains to essentially be more in sync. So think of like Amazon connecting, think of it as servers, like blockchains as servers, and Amazon's like hosted on like 10 servers. And so maybe those 10 servers all use shared sequencing so that they're really in sync because it's one coherent website, right? But to move between other websites and other ecosystems, you're in the ag layer. So you're sub 5 second moving, and those don't need to be, you don't like need these two chains to be so in sync that that's like the same thing when you're bridging sub 5 seconds. It just depends on your use cases. Anyway, my point being hyper bullish on the ag layer Polygon. I think that could hit 500 billion in my ultra bullish, Hail Mary, everything goes absolutely perfect and your wildest dreams come true scenario. And I think we're going to see some token. I think we're going to see a number of tokens hit between 100 billion and 500 billion this cycle. And I think he's going to catch people with their pants down. And they're going to think, oh my gosh, I don't know why I said their pants down. Catch them off guard. And they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I underestimated what Immutable could do. I underestimated what this could do. I was playing with these really low caps thinking, that'd be my 100x, not realizing these actually good projects already sitting at $1 billion market cap could still 100x from where they were at. And the next cycle, they'll do the same same mistake. So,
yeah, 100%. Those, I'm taking my retirement account because I have a crypto retirement account, and the things in there like Polygon and ETH are my two biggest ones. There, you don't have a lot of options in the retirement account. It's just like what they have there on iTrust, but. It's made me look at the market caps more because I tend to do that. Like I have my blue chips that I like, right? And then I go farther down the list for most of my stuff. But it's forced me to look at those like Polygon and others. And I was just like looking at the market caps last cycle versus where they are today, right? And I'm like, well, I was like, and I know like I'm pretty knowledgeable. I'm like, they tend to beat those every single time, right? Because as a market overall, like people always like just keep questioning Bitcoin, even though they've been hearing about it for 12 years and it's been around for like 15, right? They're not, when they feel like it's okay to just buy it, it's normal. That's when we're going to start seeing like, the 20% returns a year, and then eventually start smashing inflation. And we are in the middle of the adoption of a nascent like area. Like, could you ever imagine when like the internet's most recent example is like that you'd have $1 trillion company where you just ask questions to your computer? No, you didn't, right? Like people are always afraid of the new things. Like they don't want to do it until someone tells them it's okay. Same thing with like electricity in the house, right? They're like, well, it's going to burn your house down. Like it's completely unsafe. We can't do this, right? Cars are impractical because of XYZ. Electric cars too. Someone told me that back in the day about Tesla. And I was like buying Tesla stock in like 2012. They're like, well, the charging stations, I'm like, look in the future. Where in the future? And you may be wrong, you may be right, but look, we've got like 15 years of evidence at this point on Bitcoin.
Yep.
And growing evidence in the market. The biggest asset managers in the world are actively purchasing ungodly amounts of it. It is here. What are you doing? I don't get it.
In hindsight, it'll be obvious. In hindsight, people look back and it'll be obvious. And, Anyway, hey, this has been an amazing episode. As always, none of this was investment advice. None of this was me or Hartley telling you to buy any of these things. You should always do your own research. Crypto is insanely risky. We talked about meme coins. Those are like ultra insanely risky. Pretty much everything we talked about is pretty dang risky. If you can't jump into these things with like you as an adult and like be like, oh, I accept the consequences of my own actions, then don't do it. Just pretend like you didn't hear a word we said. Walk away, because I don't want you to come out here blaming me when you lose money because you got into some token that was mentioned on this thing. Like, you got to make your own decisions as an adult. Okay, act like an adult. You're not a child. I'm not your mom. Harley is certainly not your father. I'm pretty sure. And you need to be take responsibility for your own actions. All right. Remember, winners never quit. The path is always forward, and crypto never dies.